I remember I like got to the top and I just started screaming. and, I,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I was super angry. And I remember I sat down and then I just like I lost it. But in that moment of anger and like calling out to God, I never felt so close.
I mean, like, I can remember fighting with everything in my being. Like, my husband can't have cancer. He's a third grade teacher. Like, he's 42 years old. We've got these kids at home. They're downstairs playing Legos. Like, I do not know how people go through the worst of the worst of the worst without faith. I mean, my faith tethered me to life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it tethered me throughout the storm. And it's like,
Right.
gosh, you need that. You need tethering.
This is the UNspecial podcast. And there are stories that inspire you, and then there are stories that break you open first. Today's conversation is with Bethany Ann Spencer, a woman who has walked through the kind of grief most people can't put words to, the kind that reshapes your faith, your identity, your future, all in one moment. And this isn't a story about getting through it or tying pain up with a bow. This is about lament, which I'm
Mhm.
excited to learn more about. It's about anger, about asking questions that don't always get answered, and somehow still choosing to live, still choosing to find purpose in the middle of what was lost. And if you ever wondered how someone keeps going when everything falls apart, this one's for you.
Mm.
Bethany, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
And I'm super excited because, like I was telling you, I was a little in my head. I didn't know if I wanted to have this conversation.
I
Um,
get it.
because it hit, and a lot of the listeners know it's gonna hit home, and so I don't know where it's gonna go, but this conversation on grief and lament, I think, can really impact a lot of our listeners as they go through the special needs journey, and
Yeah.
just kind of um, life unfolding, not how you planned it,
Yeah.
which as we
Gosh.
get into your story, I'm sure you can speak to that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
before we get there, I'm going to rapid fire 5 questions.
Oh,
You have
okay.
you have 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No pressure.
No pressure. Here we go.
No pressure.
Number one, what emotion do you feel most often right now?
Right now, I would say anticipation. I don't know. Is that an emotion? Anticipation? I'm
Yeah.
kind of in a weird in between space where oh, I, I know a lot of people love to say like rebuilding after loss, and that is a thing, but I prefer recreating because we're not going to
Hmm.
rebuild something exactly the way that it was before we experienced this rupture and this loss. And so I am experiencing a lot of anticipation on just what God has for me coming up. And I'm writing a book, and just there's a lot of things that are like falling into place, but I'm still in that in between. So I would go with
Okay.
anticipation.
Okay. I already have like 6 questions in my mind that I want to ask off of that one little answer, but I'm gonna
Okay.
get. I'm gonna keep going.
All right.
Number two, a moment you wish you could relive for 10 seconds.
Oh gosh. Um, yeah. So I have quite a few, but the first one that comes to mind is my first husband. When he was in hospice, we were at the point in the journey where he wasn't really lucid very much at all. And my oldest son was about to turn 11, 10, 11. And he told me his one prayer was that like his dad would still be alive for his birthday because it was coming up in a few days. And I was like, oh buddy, that's it's a tough one. So we prayed and we prayed, and I tried to prepare him the best I could. Like, sometimes those prayers are answered and sometimes they're not. And would you believe that not only was he alive for his birthday, but he was lucid for like 5 to 6 minutes and like
Wow.
saying happy birthday to him. And it was unbelievable. Like I was like just weeping, and I just could not even believe my eyes. And he told him how much he loved him, and it was just beautiful. And it didn't last for
Mm-hmm.
very long, but the relief on my son's face to be able to have like that last connection on his birthday was just so precious.
How old was he?
My son, he was
Yeah, at the
turning
time.
10. Yeah, he was turning
10.
10. Yeah,
Oh,
young, young.
I have a 9-year-old. He's turning 10 this year.
Yeah, I do
So
too.
I can't even. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
heavy. That's heavy.
Hmm.
We're gonna get into kid grief. Don't let me forget.
Okay, I'll try. I'll try my
I
best.
want, I want to know about that. Number 3. One thing grief has changed about how you see God.
Oh gosh, so many things. But really, and I don't know how if you can relate to this, but I was kind of taught like a tidy Christianity, like a tidy faith,
Mm,
that was not really over emotional or messy or super raw and vulnerable. And as we all know, grief feels like the rawest, right? Like the most vulnerable season. And what I learned through all of that is that God loves to come close. He draws near to us in those seasons. And so instead of like, tucking it away in the closet or hiding it under the rug or feeling like maybe we even need to like shine it up a little bit, like round out the edges
yeah,
before we pray about it or talk to God about it, that we're welcomed, right? All of the things that we're carrying exactly as we are. And what a relief. What a huge
yeah.
relief. Hmm.
It's a trip too in those moments. I remember early on in the journey. It's 2 years ago, like now,
Wow.
two, and we
Wow.
were we were at the hospital. It was like a weekend, and I went for a run in the parking garage.
Yeah.
I would just run
Yes.
stairs and run all around.
Yes.
And I remember I like got to the top and I just started screaming, and, I,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I was super angry. And I remember I sat down and then I just like I lost it. But in that moment of anger and like calling out to God, I never felt so close. But
Yes.
like you said, like I grew up a pastor's
Yes.
kid. I've been in church my whole
Mhm.
life, and I never like saw those emotions, or I didn't know you could like do that.
Yeah.
It was almost like, God will take care of it. But
Yeah.
then when you're in the grief moment, it's like, well, what about the process of getting to that point?
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Hmm.
too
Man,
good. This is gonna be a great conversation.
it's gonna be good.
Therefore, what's something people say that instantly makes you shut down?
Oh, shut down, man. That's a tricky one. Um, I could share something. Okay, well, this is kind of interesting, actually. I'll share this bit. It wasn't really like a shutdown, but kind of like a recoil, if that makes sense. All throughout my first husband's illness and just decline and death and everything, I shared a lot on social media. That's how I kept people updated, and that's what I felt the Lord had called me to do, was just really like vulnerably share all of the details of this entire journey, um, to encourage others. And I remember at the top of almost every post, I would put an asterisk and I'd say, please, no, I'm sorry's. And for some reason, the I'm sorry for me felt
Yeah,
more like pity. Like, I'm so sorry. This is your life. I'm so sorry that this is how it's unfolded. And while I totally appreciated the sentiment and the empathy and all the love and compassion, like, I never once felt like an I'm sorry from someone, like had ill intent or anything like that. Like, I knew people
right.
were so earnest in their compassion for me, but the I'm sorry just felt like such a downer to me. Like
Yes.
it just, I don't know. And so that was really interesting because that opened up a lot of conversations in the DMs with people. And they would be like, why, like, everybody says I'm sorry about everything. Like, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry, you went through the, like, why? And so it opened up a lot of conversations, but that was one thing and has continued to be one thing that I've kind of drawn a drawn a boundary with. And I try really hard not to follow my own preference and not say it to others, but to find a different way to say what I'm actually meaning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Mhm.
it feels empty.
Yeah.
And I'm such
And
a
generic, right? Like, oh,
yeah,
let's just slap I'm sorry on it. Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
such a doer. I'm working on it. I want to be more of a beer, but
Yeah.
and like an executor. So when someone says I'm sorry, I'm like, well, like that doesn't mean anything to me. Just do
Right.
something
Right.
and
Right.
like show me you're sorry, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah,
Mhm.
that's funny. Or the question, how are you?
Yeah.
Ugh.
How much time do you have?
Yeah. Like, what do you want me to say? I'm here.
Right.
All right, this one. Did grief change who you are, or expose who you really were?
Oh, man.
I when I typed this out, I was like, oh man, I thought about it for a while.
It's a hard one. I almost want to offer a third option. It's kind of like it's just so bizarre. It's such a grief is just so strange. I kind of feel like I have become more like the fullest version of myself possible through
Mm,
grief. I don't know if full is the right word, but that's what comes to mind. Um, just in that it really did reveal who I was when I think about like terms of like endurance and faith and those integrity and those kinds of things, which was I love a challenge. So like that was fine. But there is this weird like before and after with something big that happens in your life, and it's like, gosh, I could never go back to who I was
mhm.
before, because just of so much of just the way that I'm put together has been kind of shifted around. So it's like the same thing but not, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's a really bizarre experience, because sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even recognize her. Like, she had no idea what was coming her way, like. And I have worked so hard after my first husband's death to really like recreate another life. And so my
Mhm.
life now looks so completely different than it did before. So it's like this weirdness, but it's also like you're still who you are. It's still, you're still true to yourself. You're still like the
Right.
core is still the same, but there's all these other layers that are just new and fresh, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. Will you take us? So how? Take us back. How who you are today? How did you get there? I mean,
How did I
now
get
you're a
there?
certified grief coach.
I
Like, did you
am.
ever think you would be the grief guru?
No, grief was never on my radar. Widowhood was not on my radar. I was someone who really, like, I knew things happened. Like, it's not like I
Hmm.
hadn't lived through anything through anything. Like, I knew things happened, but losing my husband to cancer, and even a cancer diagnosis with 5 children under the age of 11, was never on my radar. Like, it just didn't even seem feasible. And so
Right.
um I was a teacher, and I did a lot of ministry and stuff. So I was a little familiar with grief, but not, I mean, not until I walked through it myself personally was I felt like I was kind of thrown in the deep end of a pool. It was super deep with like the waves, or maybe it's the ocean instead of a pool. I don't know. But it was just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to do this. And I got to figure out how to do this, not to solve it, but I got to figure out how to navigate this, because it's not just me. I have I have kiddos too, right? And so, no, grief was not on my radar. Being a grief coach was not on my radar. I actually started out as a life coach,
Okay.
and did some life coaching and business coaching and mental wellness and mindset and all of that. And then after all of this, I was like, oh my gosh, I really would love to help other people
Hmm.
kind of navigate this. And I was so tired of hearing cliches and platitudes and like just unhelpful things. And it wasn't those people's fault. Like, that's what they had been taught to say, right? That's what the world and society had taught them to say to somebody who is grieving. But I was like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, so many of us are just missing the mark in our grief, but also as we comfort grievers, right? And just being in grief and sadness, it's uncomfortable, right? Like death is not,
Right.
and it's not always death, but like all of these things are so uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, how can I come alongside people and figure out how to make it a little bit softer, just a little bit more manageable? Yeah.
Yeah. And your most recent post that really that really hit home for me was what the griever sitting next to you in church actually needs to hear.
Yes.
And that one is like, man, one of the pastors at my church came to mind right away. And
Yeah.
I've been having coffee with him recently. And I noticed when I'm having coffee with him, like I talk so much. And
Mm-hmm.
we get done having coffee, I'm like, bro, I don't think you said anything. Like, how do you
Yeah.
get me to talk like this so much?
Yeah.
And then I saw your post and I'm like, dude, this is you.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
are doing this and you're not even trying. But it's
Yes.
like you say, I won't explain this away. I'm not going anywhere. You can speak freely. I won't try to fix this. That's probably one of those ones where,
Hmm.
like you said, like people have good intentions,
100%.
but it's like, don't try and fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
You don't have to hold it together. And so, going through your journey, like how did you? And it's for parents with special needs and the journeys they're on and the challenges they face. It can be so easy to get into that victim mindset.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
along your journey, like how have you fought that and just kind of flipped the script to finding purpose?
Oh man. That is a challenge. Like I just want just want to
Yeah.
empathize with anyone walking through that is, it's really really hard when you have an idea of how your life is going to turn out. It does almost the exact opposite, or at least that's what it feels like. And you're still expected, right, to function really, really well and have a great mindset, have a great mindset, not have the victim mindset, right? And be like, okay,
Right.
well, we'll just shift. And it's so much easier said than done. But I think what helped me is realizing and getting curious about the fact that my story could have lots of different possibilities,
Mm.
that I didn't necessarily have to be locked into one plan for the rest of my life. And when I started to get not serious, curious, when I started to get curious about what it would look like to be in the midst of all of this, but begin to like imagine different outcomes and different possibilities, that's when it became a little bit easier to stop resisting my reality, if that makes sense.
Oh.
Because when you resist your reality, you're putting a lot of time and energy and focus. I mean, like, I can remember fighting with everything in my being. Like, my husband can't have cancer. He's a third grade teacher. Like, he's 42 years old. We've got these kids at home. They're downstairs playing Legos. This cannot be, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do everything I can to change this. This is going to have a different outcome. This is not going to go the way everybody says it's going to go. Like, and it is like, oh gosh, all of a sudden when I started getting creative and getting curious, and that was one of my prayers to God in that season, like, Lord, help me not just be open-minded to what might happen, but help me consider the possibility and help me believe that my life can still be some sort of good,
Huh.
even if it's not the way that I wanted it. And that, I mean, it's a struggle, right? It's a legit struggle. But I think when we're curious, we put a little bit back of the authority and agency into our camp. And when we step into authority, we can't be victims because
Mm,
have full agency, right? We're in charge, not in charge of necessarily the plan. You know what I mean? Like the overart, we're not
right.
in charge of that, but we're in charge of what we do in it, how we respond in it, how we choose to think about it. And I very quickly realized after my husband was diagnosed that I could either let myself kind of like be swept away in just the horribleness of everything.
Right.
Because I was like, oh gosh, this would be so easy to just kind of melt into how awful this is. You know what I mean? And just believe
Yeah.
it. And um, it would be so easy. But I knew that if I did that, I was going to lose myself. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, and I was just like, I can't, I'm going to have to like stand 2 feet to the ground. And like, no matter how this turns out, and it's looking like it's going to turn out completely differently than I've prayed, than I've hoped, than I've cried about, like it's not looking good. It was like, I had to make a decision to, okay, so what am I going to do? I'm either going to go down with it or I'm just going to stay steady and I'm going to have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What? How? Oh man. So on some of those days, well, first, how long how long ago was the
Um,
diagnosis,
the diagnosis was about 6 years ago, and we're coming up on the fifth year anniversary of his death. Yeah.
and how long was the
Was he sick?
journey? Yeah.
Yeah, he from diagnosis to death was 11 months.
Oh, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
It was
Okay.
really, really quick. Yeah.
And
It
your
was a
kids,
whirlwind.
you had all five kids at the time?
Yes.
What were the ages?
Oh gosh. 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so our 2 years ago my wife was diagnosed. She was pregnant with our fourth child
Oh,
at 25 weeks pregnant. And he stayed in for 4 more weeks. Came out at 29 weeks, just under 3 pounds. Spent 8 weeks in the NICU. They offered to abort,
of course.
and of course, and that was immediately shut down. And then they went through all the risks of intellectual disabilities and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I was sitting there, I'm like, well, and I taught special ed for 5 years, so I was like, well, if there's anybody equipped to handle this, it's me. Like
Yeah.
I know what to expect. So let's just keep him in as long as possible. When it's time to come out, he needs to come out, and we're gonna trust through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then my other kids were, so let's see, 7, 5, and 3.
Hmm.
How did you, in that time, like, you have to show up for yourself and you have to take care of yourself. But then
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the equation is you have 5 kids that are battling grief as well,
Yep.
and they're looking to you
Mm-hmm.
to not just lose it. And it's like how did you navigate that?
Oh, it's so hard. First of all, I was so fortunate to have parents who were like, we're on the next flight and we'll stay as long as we need, as long
Yeah.
as you need us to. And this was during the pandemic and
Ugh.
everything. So the fact that they live in Costa Rica, as well, we do too. And
Oh,
so the fact
cool.
that they were even able to get out of the country, and get to the United States was a miracle in and of itself. But I just say it so plainly, they saved my life. They literally saved my life because his treatments, like I was the only one approved because it was the pandemic to accompany him with all of his treatments and appointments and everything. So I was the only one that could be there, but I have these 5 kids and they're little. They're like they're itty bitty kids,
Yeah.
like I can't just be like, oh, they're teenagers, they'll, fend for themselves. They're little. And so thankfully my parents helped out a ton. And we had a really great community, which is why I'm so passionate about educating the church on how to show up in really practical, tangible ways for people who are living in crisis. But it's hard. It is so hard. Um, the two things that I did the most, I tried to be as consistent as possible,
Mm.
which of course is really, really hard when you've got hospital schedules and he's on the couch and I'm having to be caregiver and mom and homeschooling. We're doing like all the things. It's just like, could there be one more plate that that I'm
Right.
spinning? It's like, gosh, I just have to accept the fact that like I'm living in survival mode right now. Like we're just not, we're not going for any awards or extra extra
Mm.
stuff right now. We're just trying to
Right.
make it through. I try to be um as consistent as possible, and then I tried to grieve in front of them.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of times kids are we're scared. Kids are
Yeah.
scared. They don't necessarily know what's going on. They can see that dad is really, really sick. He's not doing well. He's declining on the couch. He's sleeping most of the time. He's in
Right.
a lot of pain. And it's like, gosh, what is going on? And so I tried to explain things, as much information as they needed to
Hmm.
satisfy curiosity, but not too much information, right? So we answer the questions they ask, not the unasked questions, right? Because then we get into the weeds.
Right.
Um, and so, but I let myself break down in front of them. I let myself cry. They saw a very, very raw version of me. And I did not want them to think that grief was something that we had to be ashamed of. I didn't, I just knew that my choices during that season were going to shape their view of
Yeah.
cancer, community, faith, God, grief, like all of these, sorrow, all of these things. And so I just did my best to live as authentically as I could in front of them without, crossing lines, because they're kids. They don't need to know everything. But
Right.
I purposefully did not attempt to hide my own reactions, within reason to what was going on.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and it's hard too because a lot of the questions from the kids are the same questions I have,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like I
It's like I
don't
don't know
have
that
an
I don't
answer.
know that answer to. I wish I had an answer, but
Right.
mommy has the same question. I'm wondering,
Yeah.
I'm worried about that too. And as soon as I have any sort of answer, I'll let you know.
Right. So
You
then
know, I mean,
what?
it's like,
There's
like
but
I think there's power though in the co-wondering and the co-questioning, right? Because it's
uh,
like, oh, like on one hand, we could be like, oh, great, mom doesn't have any answers either. We feel a little unsafe and a little unsteady. But I think there is a lot of power also, and potential for power right there in saying like, me too, I'm actually wondering the same thing and nobody's been able to give me an answer yet, or I don't know the answer yet. I'm wondering right along with you. And I think that kind of honesty, at least for my older kiddos, they appreciated that because I wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything and I wasn't just making up stuff to answer
hmm.
them. You know what I mean? It was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like that's the actual answer.
Right. And
Hmm.
what I had a shift, I don't know, some time ago. I was getting caught up in the worries of what is this doing to the kids? Like, how
Yeah.
is this going to affect them and long term? But then I had a shift of like, what an incredible opportunity. and which this led to my decision to homeschool them.
Mm.
Of like, what an incredible opportunity I have as their father to walk them through this, and I don't want anybody else walking them through this but me.
Yeah.
And so when
100%.
once I had that shift, it was like got me into a better mindset of like, okay,
Yeah.
how this is forging something in them
Yeah.
that maybe, yeah, for sure wouldn't be the case if this wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I just stay near to God and do what He's called me to do,
Yeah.
but then have that faith and trust that He's going to take care of it, not me.
Yeah.
But then, so how do you sit in that space of extreme faith and hope and trust,
Oh man. Whew.
but then also being surrendered to the outcome?
Yeah, you talk about this shift. I kind of had a shift as well. My shift was like, oh gosh, the questions that my kids are answering or asking, I can ask God.
Mm.
And that was kind of like an eye opener for me. Kind of going back to what I said earlier, it was like it was kind of like if it wasn't in this neat little box, I couldn't bring it to God, right? Like if it wasn't tidied up. And gosh, living in that hope and all of it's so challenging and exhausting.
Yeah.
Um, but what I really came to believe through everything is that hope is not a feeling. It's not a feeling. And I kind of had always thought of hope as a feeling. Like if I'm feeling hopeful, then I'm doing a really good job at hope, right? And
Uh,
for me, hope became a decision. It was just a decision. And like the faith, it became a decision. And not that feelings weren't involved in that. And I wasn't taking my feelings into account and kind of like, self auditing throughout. But I knew that, like, if I'm going to have faith, I'm going to just have to decide to have it, even when it sucks, even when I'm exhausted, even when I'm angry, even when it doesn't make sense. Like, I will hold on to the faith. So for me, it was a decision, but it wasn't just one decision. It's like I had to make it every day. Like over and
yeah.
over multiple times a day because there were so many opportunities to despair. There were so many opportunities to just be like, this is the worst, like just throw my hands up and just succumb to despair because this is the actual worst. Like I can't actually imagine something worse in my life right now. This is the worst. Um,
Hmm.
but having enough wherewithal, right? And being like, okay, like I think of Psalms, how like David like called himself to, like he told himself to hope, take comfort, my soul, right? Like he kind of like was
Uh,
bossy with his own
yeah.
soul, right? Like with
Uh,
himself. He's like, take comfort, take hope, take, whatever it was. I need to go look that up. But I know like in the Psalms, like David was commanding his own self to, hey, buddy, like we need a hope up here, right?
right.
And so I kind of took that kind of like as a personal, I don't know, anthem where it was like, I can tell myself to hope. You know what I mean? It's like we're expecting like this feeling to just naturally show up. And if it doesn't, then we've missed the mark or we're just horrible Christians. We're horrible believers, like I guess we're just not as good as like Sally who sits down the pew, like
Yeah.
but it's actually not that at all. It's not that at all. Like, we're not always going to feel hopeful. So it's like, okay, how do I feel or how do I stay hopeful in these hopeless situations? Like, hope is a decision and hope is a person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like, I have Jesus, I have hope because Jesus is hope, like, Jesus is always with me. Hope is
Right.
always, even if I don't feel it, even if it feels, some sort of way, XYZ, not all is lost.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it really makes you come to a place of like, I don't know how anybody does this without God.
Oh, I've said it probably, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of times. Like I do not know how people go through the worst of the worst of the worst without faith. I mean, my faith tethered me to life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it tethered me throughout the storm. And it's like,
Right.
gosh, you need that. You need tetherings.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. So let's talk about lament.
Okay.
I I I had never heard the word until I started seeing all your content.
Really?
And so I'm extra curious for you to
Yeah.
break it down and like what does that look like in a challenging journey? And then
Mhm.
like what does it look like for you today?
Okay. Well, I had heard about lament, but I didn't really know about lament until my husband got sick because I was like, I don't like I was just kind of like crying out to the Lord, like, what am I supposed to do? like
Right.
like I am human. What am I supposed how am I supposed to be with this news? How am I supposed to navigate this? How am I supposed to do anything? And I don't even remember what it was, but I ended up in Lamentations. And I started kind of doing like a little bit of a deep dive on Lamentations. And I was like, oh my gosh, like in this book of the Bible, grief is right here. And it's like written out in full sentences. Like it's right here for everybody and anybody to read. And that began this kind of personal journey of figuring out, okay, well, most of the Psalms read like mini panic attacks, to be honest with you. Like if you really go through those Psalms, I mean,
Yeah.
they're not cute. They're like cries of like lament. It's desperation crying out to God for deliverance, for healing, for comfort, for all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these psalmists are literally, they were praying for the same things that I'm praying for today in
Uh-huh.
my situation. And so I really started to learn about lament. And the first thing I learned what lament isn't. Lament is not like complaining without direction, right? We're not just like
Mhm.
there's a difference between bringing something authentically to God and just complaining, right? So lament is not complaining. We're not being dramatic or over the top, right? Or losing faith, but lament is really telling the truth about what is going on, what hurts us, what is happening, and bringing that truth unedited to God. So in other words, we are still in communion, still in connection, still in communication, in conversation with God in the midst of the horrible that is happening. And
Mhm.
as soon as I learned what lament was, I was like, oh, so really, it really is true. God can handle it all. Like God cannot
Yeah.
just handle it, but he longs to be with us in the secret place where we can bring all of this to him and we don't have to feel ashamed or scared or less than. We can literally bring it to him and he will be with us in it. And
Mm.
that was an enormous relief to me because it was like my whole life. There were, of course, there were ups and downs and hards and everything, but not hard like my husband's dying, not that kind of
Right.
hard, right? And it
Right.
was like, oh my gosh, if in the absolute worst we can bring it to him, he really is who he says he is. And there was just a freedom that I was able to experience in my faith as soon as I grabbed a hold of lament.
Hmm. That's an interesting. My or I don't know, like a year into the journey, I was
Yeah.
talking with my brother, and 5 years ago he lost his wife
Oh my gosh.
uh, to a car crash,
Oh.
and um, yeah, and so I remember him telling me like, dude, it's okay for you to yell at God,
Mhm.
like you don't have to go to him and like have it all figured out and
Right.
like have your emotions all in check. Like you can totally let it go.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
and then he was like, and he'll meet you right there. And that was
Yeah.
such a foreign concept to me at the time.
Mhm.
I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know if I've ever done that before. So then I tried it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And like you said, it is incredibly freeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain like practically how it's just freeing
Yeah.
when you just let it go,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't even like, not that it doesn't phase him, like he grieves with us in it,
Right.
but
Right.
it's like he can take it.
Yes. And what just the freedom of that, knowing that it's okay. I get so many messages from fellow grievers who are like, I didn't know I could say that to God. I didn't know God was like interested in that, or God wanted me to say that, or he was waiting for me to bring that to, like, I didn't know I had permission to say these things. And there is so much freedom and relief and just this like, like, oh, okay, like I could be for real, so for real with the
Right,
Lord, where it's like, oh gosh, it does not have to be, I don't have to like reframe it, you know, find the bright side to bring it to him. Like I can just bring it how it is. And right now it sucks.
right.
It's pretty bad. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, like as a relationship, I think
Yeah.
that's probably where I was getting held up was, you know, it, a relationship with God. Like He's not finite, so He's not here with us
Yeah.
in physical form. So it's like a foreign concept, but He's with us. I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah,
It's wild. It's wild to think
it's like,
about.
yeah. All right, so a little bit about, and I think a lot of the moms of our listeners can relate to this. Um, just going through a journey of a life that you didn't exactly script,
Mhm.
and how everything changed. But like, as for you, who were you before everything changed, and how are you different now? And are you thankful for that?
Yeah. Um, I am really, really thankful for it. I am thankful for it, for the changes that have happened, because I feel like I have a new found but hard fought for um appreciation of just life in general. And before my husband got sick, it's not like I consciously thought this, but I kind of lived in a way that would show the belief that I kind of thought I was untouchable. Like, okay, stuff happens, but that's like gonna happen to them. It's not it's not on my
Right,
radar. Like, why would we get cancer? Like my husband was so healthy. Like, why would we get cancer? Why would I be widowed at 38? Like that doesn't it's not gonna happen. Um and it's like, oh gosh, it did happen. All of this actually did happen. And I think one of the greatest things that has come out of it for me personally is I just don't take time for granted anymore. I don't really take much of anything for granted anymore, just because I've, it's felt like everything has been taken from me. My plans and, being
hmm,
married to my husband forever and growing old together and watching our kids, do all the things, and that togetherness was taken. And so I just am able to, I think, appreciate on a deeper level what I still have, and what we're still creating.
yeah. What
Yeah.
parts of you didn't survive that season?
Probably the taking taking things for
Taking it,
granted.
yeah, yeah.
For sure, for sure. I really was like a gratitude junkie before. I loved gratitude. I loved giving thanks. Like I loved all of that. And then I went through this experience and I feel like it's a deeper level of gratitude. And so that's really cool. What else has not come with me?
Or what parts were unexpectedly strengthened?
Probably my intentionality. Um,
Intention.
and yeah, just an really intentional living, like across the board, health, decisions, finance, like all of the things. Really, really intentional, just because it was like, oh gosh, we don't know how much time we actually have. Like my husband had My husband had 43 years. That was it. That was it.
Right.
And then it was done. And it's like, oh gosh, like, man, I could have 45. I mean, hopefully not, but that could be the situation, you know? And so just this intentional living, and it's like, I just don't have time to waste anymore. I don't have time to be indecisive anymore. I just don't have time for it, or patience for it probably either.
Totally.
You know,
Totally.
it's just like we're what are we doing? Jump in, let's go, you know?
Have you found have you found yourself like I mean, this is a Southern California term. Well, you live in Costa Rica, so you probably get it. Have you found yourself like becoming more salty
Oh,
on like little petty things that people talk about or
yes.
complain about? I'm just
Yes.
like, dude,
Yes.
just stop.
Yes.
Like, are you kidding me
I'm
right now?
I'm part of several like online widow groups,
Yeah.
and this is a frequent conversation in those groups because it's like, oh, you're worried about that? This is like it's nothing.
Like,
Or you're upset about that, or you're, you know, and it's like, oh gosh. But then I think like, well, you know what, Bethany, before all this happened, you were doing the same thing, you know? And it's
yeah.
just like, oh gosh, yeah, just your perspective changes so much. But yes, the saltiness, 100%.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
I know. I have to like consciously tell myself like they don't even know. They don't know.
They don't,
Just
that's the thing. They don't know. Just like I didn't know.
right.
And just like all these other situations, like I know about this now, but there's still so many situations that I still don't know about. So it's like, okay, Bethany, like check yourself, check
Check it,
yourself.
check it. Was there
Hmm.
a point, a turning point where you realized you weren't just surviving anymore?
Yeah, probably a couple years ago, um, where I still go through seasons where it feels like, oh man, I'm scraping by, not scraping by, but you know, like there's still the grief just, you know, kind of loops, right?
It's
So
a
it's like,
circle.
okay, it's gonna come back, it's coming for me. But yeah, a couple years ago, I remember just I was just going through my day and I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at you living your life. You're actually just like fully alive, doing what you want to do. Your kids are happy and healthy. You're living where you want to live. You're doing what, you know, like." And it felt really good. I often think like, gosh, would my late husband even recognize me? I'm sure he would. But you know what I mean? Just because so much has changed, um, for the good, for the good. And it's really weird to live like with a clear cut before and after line in your life, you know, where it's just like,
Hmm.
this is the way it was, this is the way it is now. And it's like you still remember what it was before. It's still some sort of familiar to you, but you're not living in that place anymore. So
Right.
yeah.
What would be some hacks on like walking your kids through grief? And I
Oh
know, like
yeah.
for parents on the journey of special needs, a big missing, forgotten element of that
Mhm.
is the siblings
Oh
and
yeah.
how they parent. Like, how was some hacks to walk kids through the
Oh man.
cycles?
Yeah. The first thing is that like everybody experiences it differently. So I have five, and not all five of them want to remember things the same way or want to talk about it the same way. And so that was kind of like one of the first things that I had to learn was like, oh, this one wants to sit and talk for 2 hours in the evening, and this one just wants like a hug. You know, like they just process it differently. Um, and it shows up in their personalities and all of that. And so just knowing that like it's not going to be the absolute same all the time. But for me, it has been very helpful to like continue the conversations about their dad. And so we mention him at least probably 3 times a day in our home. And so that has been really, really cool. And I know not everybody is grieving from a death, right? There's all kinds of different grief, but just letting that, knowing that grief will like can move in and move out. I feel like a lot of times as mamas, we want to fix things and we want to like solve the problem, right? And with grief, there really is no fixing. or solving. And so it's like, okay, some days it's going to be there, some days it's not, sometimes it's going to half be there. And so just building kind of like this freedom in your family and in your home to just let the grief do what the grief's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would see my kids crying, and then like, 5 minutes later, they're like cracking up and playing, they're
Right.
like wanting a snack, and then they're like, oh, why did dad get sick? Or they have this deep question. It's like, well, what? Like we're literally just eating goldfish. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
But just knowing that, it moves in and out, it loops, and that's totally okay. The other thing I learned to do was really to follow their lead and not to force anything on them. And
Mm-hmm.
so just knowing like, hey, if they want to talk about it, I'm going to make time to hold that space for them and do that, have that connection with them. And if they don't, there's no right way, right? And so it's like I had to kind of knock down the expectations in my mind that it needed to look a certain way or sound a certain way, and just let it be. Just let it be. This is
Yeah, just
where
let
they're
it
at.
be.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day, they're like, "Do you ever go through the stages of grief?"
Mm,
I'm like, yeah, probably every day. Sure,
yeah.
every day.
Yeah. You know what is so interesting is the stages of grief. I'm trying to remember the name of the woman who created it, but those were actually stages created for the dying, which is
Hmm.
so interesting. They
Interesting.
weren't created for living like grievers. They were created for people who were like about to die, and the grief of losing their lives, or their lives coming to an end. So it's always really interesting to me, because somebody at the end of their life, like I'm thinking about my husband's grief, like
Yeah,
his grief is going to be different than my grief, because I'm still, like I'm not facing imminent death like he was. It's
right,
so
right.
fast. The stages are fascinating.
Sounds
Real.
like it sounds like we need to make some new stages for the
Yes, I
living.
agree. Yes, for people who are actually just alive and I'm just like dealing with grief. Right.
Uh-huh.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah.
We'll bring it to a close. I could ask you millions of questions, but
It's fun.
we'll keep it under control. Um,
As
if
fun as
some
grief can be, right?
right, but it is freeing and helpful to talk
It
about.
is.
When you
It is.
shove it down, it just makes it worse.
Hmm.
If someone is in the thick of grief right now, what would you want them to hear?
Oh gosh, that it's not you, it's grief.
Mm,
Honestly, we carry so much self-evaluation all the time. We're always self-evaluating, which there's a time and a place for, but when it comes to grief, and of course we want self-awareness and all of that, but when it comes to grief and the toll that grief takes on our brains and our bodies, we tend to think that we're broken, we're doing something wrong. There's just a lot of shame around a lot of things, and I won't get into all of those because that's like a whole nother podcast. But it's not you, it's grief. Like the symptoms that you're experiencing, the brain fog, like all this weirdness, up and downs, highs and lows, like all of that, it's symptoms of grief. And I know for me, once I learned about the symptoms of grief and how grief affects our brains and bodies, it was like, oh, no wonder I'm forgetting everything. No wonder I'm scattered. No wonder my emotions are up and down. No wonder I feel like I don't even recognize myself sometimes, or I can't trust my brain because my capacity is so low. Whatever it is, there is a relief that comes from knowing its symptoms and
mm,
not character flaw. It's not you. Nothing's
that's
wrong with you.
good.
Grief. Hmm.
I was just cruising around with my project manager yesterday, and
Yeah.
I frequently miss turns. Like when I'm driving, I
Mhm.
just zone out, and he's like, "Dude, where are you going?" Like I think I have a trauma brain or
Yeah,
something
grief
because
brain.
I'm just
That's 100%.
grief brain.
100. It's totally normal. And it's like, it would be so easy to beat ourselves up or like have this mental, like inner dialogue soundtrack that's like, oh my gosh, you cannot keep it together, or you failed this again, or you missed this appointment, or you whatever. And it's like, oh no, you know what? My system is overloaded with grief right now. And it's just trying to survive. We're in survival
Yeah,
mode right now. So I don't have all
Mm.
these extra functions right now that I usually do, like remembering where to turn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So then on the flip side, like what does hope look like when your life doesn't look like you planned?
Oh gosh, what does hope look like? Oh,
Hope notes
hope
once a week.
notes. Hope notes. Get on the hope notes, baby. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I really do. I just come back to that decision thing, like making the decision. But I think too, um, a lot of us are waiting for like this really big, like hopeful feeling, and then we're gonna feel so good and so light, and like everything will turn out. And like hope isn't like necessarily thinking positively, thinking positively, right? We're like in the middle of the worst. It's of course it's going to be tempting to despair, but I really, really think that even praying, like I remember praying for hope and just being like, Lord, it looks so hopeless. Would you help me to believe and maintain hope even amidst something that feels really, really hopeless? And I think a lot of times we can forget that we can just ask for that. We can
Mm.
ask for the things that we need, and he's a good father. He loves to come and support us and help us and give us those things that we need. He's a good father, right? And so just a reminder that we can ask for the things that we need, and they do not have to be always physical material things. We can ask for
Mm.
hope, we can ask for comfort, we can ask for presence, we can ask for like, oh my gosh, would you just help me keep my head above water today? Like this is horrible. I'm
Yeah.
sinking fast. Would you just like I just need a hand, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so what on those days where it's just hard to get out of bed,
Mhm.
or even the sometimes the smallest
Yeah.
things that you have to do that day and you just can't get yourself to do it. What are
Yeah.
some other than prayer, like
Yeah.
practical, like what are some things that have helped you?
Some practical things.
Loom
Um,
box, the loom
yeah,
box.
the loom box. Hello. The loom box. Red
You
light
you
therapy.
actually you got me over the fence. I've been looking at that thing for a while, and then
I
I
used
was
it
like,
this morning. I used it. It's
yeah,
so good.
I use it every day.
Oh,
I
isn't it
finally
awesome?
I found a little a routine. I go to the gym in the morning. I come home.
Good
I
for
lay on
you.
my poke mat, my prana mat, while I'm
Yes.
doing the loom box, and I it's like the 12 minutes where I am very calm,
Yep.
and
Your
it's
12
great.
minutes every day. It's the
Yeah.
best. I'm telling you, that red light therapy, it works so well. Um, no, I think there's a couple things. I think in those situations, I know for me, I immediately ask myself, I try to have enough self-awareness that I'm like, okay, like this is a struggle right now. What does my body immediately need right now? And the answer is usually one of three things, or maybe all three. It usually needs water, protein, or movement, one
Ooh.
of those. And so for me, I found that if I can just get, even if it's just a quick lap around the block, even if it's jumping in place 50 times, nobody wants to do that. I'm not saying you're going to want to do it. You're not going to want to do it at all, but just being like, this is what I need to get the emotions moving, to get some sort of fluidity within my body. For me, it's movement. And so I will just go start lapping the block and remembering that usually movement helps pretty quickly, but if you want a lot of like relief, you're going to have to do it for a little bit longer. So I know usually I'm going to have to walk at least 15, 20 minutes, but not everybody has that kind of time. So if you can even just get one lap around the block, or you jump, or you do a jump, some sort of movement can really interrupt those loops and those patterns in our brain. And so I figure out what it is that my body needs or what would help it. And I
Hmm.
try to meet that need as quickly as I can, which is against what we feel like. Because
Yes.
really, I don't feel like getting up and eating an egg. I don't feel like, going and getting a glass of water or taking some ashwagandha or, lapping I don't feel like that. I want to delay solving like that's just part of the despair, right? It's like
Yeah.
delay. Like I don't want to do anything right now, but not doing anything just prolongs the suffering,
Ooh.
in that moment. And it just delays relief. And so I'm like, but I'll get up and, have, something to eat or something like that, where it's just like, if you can jumpstart something in you to kind of interrupt that funk, it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's one
Mhm.
of the main messages my mentor always tells me. He's like,
Really?
just keep moving. Like
Yes.
everything in you wants to go numb, wants to do nothing. He's
Yep.
like, I know you, and you need to just keep moving, keep
Yeah.
writing, keep creating, find the
Yeah.
purpose,
Yeah.
and that's how you're gonna stay
Good.
sane. Yeah, so good. This is such a powerful conversation. All right, I'm dying to hear what's this book in the works.
Oh, well, it comes out not this spring, next spring. So spring of
Okay.
2027. And it is like a companion. I think it will meet tons of people in their grief. It's written specifically for widows, but I think anyone can truly, truly benefit from the things that I share. So it's a little bit of memoir and a lot of practical tools.
Ooh,
So
this
I think it'll be
sounds
good.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right,
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
else and what else? So you grief coach? Is that something people can
Yeah.
sign up
So
for?
Well, right now I'm not taking any new coaching clients right now. But they can definitely visit the website or come see me on Instagram. I love DMs from people. I'm in my DMs all the time. So if I have capacity or time to write you back, I will. And then Hope Notes. Of course, you got to sign up for Hope Notes, which is my
They're
weekly email that
awesome.
goes out at
They're
every
awesome.
Sunday at 6:06 a.m. It's
606.
6:06 a.m. I
Why
found
not?
that, I kept hearing from coaching clients and from all of the grieving circles that I was in that like Sundays were the absolutely worst day for grief. And I was like, honestly, you're so right. Cause
Oh,
it's like a family day. Um, and people are going to church. Not everybody feels comfortable going to church when they're grieving, or they feel welcome, or just, you feel blah. Sundays are
I
notoriously like community days, and let's be together and let's have dinner and let's go to brunch and let's go out and let's watch the game, and it's like when you're grieving, just Sunday, I just kept hearing it over and over. And I was like, we're going to send that hope note first thing Sunday morning for just like a little
strategic.
bit strategic. Yes, because Sundays are hard.
Well,
They're
that
just,
makes so much sense.
mhm.
Especially, I mean, we're up in North Idaho, and this is where we were living when everything went down, and we
Yeah.
we don't live here full time anymore. And I haven't been back here in 5 months. And Sunday, I totally skipped church because I did
Yeah.
not want to see people.
Yeah. You're like, yeah. There's like tons of reasons why Sunday is so hard. And so that just felt like, you know what? Why don't we send this on the hardest day of the week for grief? So
Yeah.
it's
And
just like a little bit.
you see families, which is great. Like they're living their life, and I'm happy for them. But there is
Yeah,
a part of me where it's just like, can
man,
I
you
just
don't
have that?
know. It must be nice. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
It is. It's horrible, but it's true. It's just so, it's so, it's just hard. It's just so hard. So this is a little bit of, hope, hopefully, for your
Yeah.
Sundays.
So the Hope Notes, and they can sign up for that on Instagram.
Yeah, if you just click the link in my bio on Instagram, yeah, it'll
And
take
it's
you. There's an
Bethany,
option there.
Bethany.and.Spencer.
Yes.
And just to leave the listeners with, I think that was three super practical, super awesome hacks: water, protein, movement.
Yes.
There it is.
So basic. It's so
So
basic, but
basic.
it works. It works.
Just keep moving. All right. Thank you so much, Bethany. That was awesome.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We love these conversations, and our goal is for all of you parents to be seen and heard in community with one another, inspired and equipped to take on this life. Just remember one thing: if you don't hear anything else, if you don't remember anything from this week's episode, hear this: you are enough. You have what it takes. Thanks again for being here.